Welcome to the fourth in our how-to series of videos, which will show you how to personalize the first version of your plan by reviewing the assumptions your plan has made for you and making any changes you think are necessary. TNT has created your first version plan, but your immediate question is likely to be, what assumptions has it used and do you agree with them? The quickest way to see all of the data that is currently being used by your plan is here in the input menu, where we find the data review option. The data review is split into two parts, choices and basics. Choices are elements of your finances over which you can have significant control and which are likely to have an important effect on the outcome of your plan. Basics, on the other hand, are items that once set probably won't need to be adjusted very often. They are pretty self-explanatory, and you can see the assumptions for each one that the plan has made for you here in the review summary. So having reviewed the information your plan is using, if you decide that you would like to make some changes, then go back to the input menu and select either choices or basics. Let's look at choices first. TNT simplifies the work you need to do by identifying just 7 choices over which you have the most control and which will have the greatest effect on your plan. 7 choices are summarized here and cover how your plan is structured: earnings, pensions, investments, exceptional spending and income, property, and regular lifestyle spending. You can access these either through these icons in the choices summary page or through the input menu directly here. So let's have a look at the first choice and look at your plan structure. This is the framework around which your plan will be built. In other words, how long will it last for in total, and how can it be split into 3 parts called life phases? If you're planning as a couple, then as you are likely to want to coordinate your life phases, so your plan uses just one framework for both of you to work with. You might have seen in the first how-to video that the assumption the plan makes is to set the total length of the plan for the number of years it takes the person named in the top row of the first start table to reach 100, on the basis that living to 100 is becoming an increasing possibility, and even if the probability is still less than, say, 10%, then this is the worst case for how long your money needs to last that you should allow for. You are then invited to split the total plan into 3 life phases: A, B, and C. Phase A, when your financial priority is likely to be your earnings and saving for tomorrow. Phase C, when the plan assumes that you're no longer earning and likely to be using your savings from tomorrow to cover at least some of your spending. And in the middle, Phase B is an option you can use to be a transitional phase between phases A and C that allows you to plan for a different level of earnings, as you might decide to work less or make a lifestyle change. Your plan assumes that phase A finishes when the first person is 60, phase B is fixed at 10 years, with phase C then being the balance of the total plan length. You can change the duration of each phase to work longer or maybe slow down earlier. You can also choose to exclude any of the phases by simply setting the duration to zero. So, for example, if you don't want a transitional phase B and want a more traditional clean break between work and later years, then just set phase B to 0 and work with phase A and C. Just one further point about plan structure: it is likely that phase A will see the most changes in your personal circumstances, especially if you are starting the plan in your 20s or 30s. The plan therefore automatically divides phase A into 3 equal length subphases that you can use when you are making your choices for pension contributions and lifestyle spending. This allows you more flexibility to vary your choices over shorter time periods in these 2 areas. Choice 2 allows you to set your earnings profiles in phases A and B. A quick reminder that, as we saw in the 3rd video of this series, when entering future amounts in pounds, you don't need to worry about inflation. You can just use the value of money that you see around you today. So in this case, you only need to plan for any real changes in your earnings as a result of, for example, getting promoted or working fewer hours. You can enter earnings as one or more of salary, taxable self-employed profit, or dividends. To avoid you having to enter an amount for each year, which will be rather tedious, your plan offers you 2 options in each of life phases A and B. This is a good opportunity to visit the help library and see in the Making Choices section we see an explanation of how to input your earnings in either phase A or B. We can see here in phase A, option 1 simply asks you to set a target for your earnings at the end of the phase. As the plan knows your starting point for each phase, it will then assume a straight line between the 2 points and assume a constant real change in your earnings of 1% for each year until it reaches your target at the end of the phase. If, on the other hand, your earnings are more volatile, and rather than use a constant real growth, you feel more comfortable with a steady average real amount, remember without inflation, then you can use option 2. Phase B does exactly the same thing. You might usually be thinking of slowing down in this phase and therefore earning less, but you can choose how you want to use phase B. It could, for example, be used as a plateau for earnings that increase rapidly in earlier years but are then likely to level off. If you want to see examples of the earnings option being used, then please visit the inspiration videos here, either on the home page or in the help library to see various examples. The third choice are your pension contributions, which you input as a percentage of your earnings from pre-tax salary or taxable self-employed income. Here you see that the 3 sub-phases of phase A give you more flexibility to vary your contributions as maybe you steadily increase the amount you want to need or save for tomorrow. The assumed percentages you can choose to overwrite are the ones that you see here. There are different ways of calculating pension contributions, so T&T displays at the bottom here the monthly contribution amount in pounds that it is actually calculating. You can check with your statement of pay slips to see if this approximates to the actual amount you are contributing each month, and if not, adjust the percentages here to better reflect the contribution that is being calculated for you. The fourth choice covers the investment returns you want to plan for, and therefore the amount of investment risk you will need to take to achieve those returns. The plan asks you to enter an amount before inflation known as a nominal rate, because that is how most people are used to seeing their investment returns. Any increases resulting from the assumed rate of inflation are removed, meaning that the investment returns used by the plan are just the real amounts, after deducting the assumed inflation rate. This can serve as a reminder that if you are too conservative with your investment choices, then your real return can be negative and you will actually be losing money in real terms. You can set a different return for each life phase if, for example, you would like to take more investment risk in your younger years and then a lower risk that might help to preserve your capital in later years. A word of warning that the choices you make here are likely to have a significant effect on your plan outcome. Although T&T gives you some guidance both here and in the library as to what you might choose, you might want to do some additional research with either specialist investment websites or advisors. The fifth choice allows you to enter any exceptional amount of income or spending. Regular income is covered by earnings in choice 2, as we've seen, and regular spending is covered in lifestyle and property, which are choices 6 and 7. So the amounts shown here are any exceptional amounts occurring in just 1 year, or they might be for a range of years. For example, providing support for children at university or planning to travel more in later years. You can include up to 8 different events for each one, so there is plenty of room to really personalise your plan. The example we see here is for a house renovation project going from plan year 2 to plan year 5 at an amount of £5,000 per year. As these items are very personal to you, the plan assumption is that there are no items of other income or spend. It is a blank piece of paper left up to you to complete how you would like. All amounts should be entered as post-tax, in other words, after an estimate for any taxation has already been deducted. This is the equivalent screen for other income, and it works in exactly the same way as the spending screen. So enter the description here from to plan year, in this case just a single year, plan 5, a bonus of £10,000. Choice 6 is the property plan. You can choose up to 5 moves during your plan, how long you plan to stay at each property, and whether you plan to rent or buy. Once again, there's no inflation complications, so if you saw your dream house in the estate agent's window yesterday at say 800,000, then this is the target that you can set in your plan, however far into the future it might be. T&T will make the adjustments to real values for you. Creating a property plan is optional. The plan assumption is not to include one, so in the first version of your plan there are no specific items related to property purchases and sales, just an assumption that your overall lifestyle expenses in choice 7 will include an annual amount for mortgage and or rental payments. The last choice 7 is the amount you can afford to spend on enjoying today. In other words, your lifestyle spend. The plan assumption for lifestyle spend is to work with a percentage of your disposable income to provide an estimate of your affordable lifestyle spend. You can see much more about how to use both the property plan and lifestyle spending tools in the 5th video of this how-to series. The remaining variables in your plan are included in the basics section, which, as we have already said, are variables over which you are likely to have less direct control, or once they've been set are unlikely to require regular change. So let's have a quick look at those items. Firstly, how much your employer might be contributing to your pension funds. This can be either entered as a percentage amount or an amount in pounds. If you choose to use the percentage method, then the assumption is that your employer will be matching whatever percentage contribution you have set in your employee contributions, i.e. choice 3. You can also set a maximum amount that the employer will contribute as a match percentage, just here where the assumed maximum is 10%. If you prefer to work with an average annual contribution in pounds, excluding inflation, then you can enter an amount here. This might be used, for example, by a director of a limited company. Basics 2 is about the state pension. Your level of entitlement to the state pension is calculated according to the number of years you've made national insurance contributions. The plan assumption is that you will be entitled to 100% of the state pension, which you can adjust here if necessary. You can input 2 final salary pension schemes for each person and any state benefits other than the pension in these tables here. The plan will automatically invest any excess cash. The minimum cash balance allows you to set an amount that you wish to hold as a minimum to cover, for example, unexpected bills and emergencies. The assumed amount is £1,000, as you can see. The end of plan target amount. The assumption is that you would like to target finishing your plan with no remaining available money, but you might wish to set a higher target to give you a margin of security in case, for example, you live longer than planned, or if you would like to target a legacy amount. The assumed amount is 0. You can change it just here. The last basic item is the dreaded student loan. If you have entered an outstanding student loan in the start section, then the plan will use an assumption based on your age to estimate how many years you have left to repay the loan. By entering the dates on which you started and finished your university course, the plan is able to make a more accurate calculation. Any outstanding student loan amounts that remain after 30 years are written off by the plan. So that was a quick tour of making choices and covering the basics, which has hopefully given you a good idea of how you can personalize your first version plan. Making choices almost always involves some sort of trade-off, and T&T is no exception, so don't expect to balance your plan at the first attempt. You might have to do several laps of your choices before you find a balance that you're comfortable with. The 6th and last how-to video covers in more detail how to read the results of your plan in different ways and how to balance your choices. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video where we have a look in more detail at the lifestyle spending and the property plan tools. Remember, play with your plan. Don't take it too seriously and have some fun. It's there to help you make the most of your money and your life.